You wake up every morning feeling like you haven't slept at all. Your body moves, but something inside has already surrendered. You call it laziness. Your friends call it laziness. Society calls it laziness. But what if the problem was never you in the first place? What if the exhaustion you feel isn't a personal failure, but a symptom of a system engineered to drain you completely? Burnout Society victim. Byung-Chul, one of the most important philosophers of our time, warned us about this. He called it the Burnout Society, a world where achievement has become a new form of violence against yourself. And the worst part, you've been blaming yourself for what it's doing to you. The system isn't broken, it's working exactly as designed. Today, we're going to dismantle the lie of laziness. And what you discover might change everything you believe about yourself. Think about the last time you felt truly rested. Not just not tired, but genuinely restored, mind clear, body light, spirit willing. If you can't remember, that's not laziness, that's the burnout trap. Society did not fail to protect you from exhaustion, it designed the exhaustion. Philosopher Byung-Chul described this in his groundbreaking work. He argued that we've moved from a society of discipline, where external authorities told you what to do, to a society of achievement, where you become your own oppressor. The achievement subject exploits itself until it burns out. And here's the sinister genius of it. Because you're the one pushing yourself, you believe the exhaustion is your fault. There's no boss cracking a whip, no dictator issuing orders. Just you, scrolling through productivity videos at midnight, wondering why you can't get more done. Self-exploitation, burnout. The World Health Organization officially recognized burnout as an occupational phenomenon in 2019. Not a character flaw, not laziness. A systemic condition born from chronic workplace stress that hasn't been successfully managed. And yet, most people still blame themselves. The culture around us doesn't just allow this to happen, it celebrates it. We live in an era where exhaustion has become a badge of honor. Hustle, that word gets thrown around like it's the answer to everything. Sleep 4 hours, work weekends, grind until you drop, and if you're not doing that, you must not want it badly enough. This is what researchers call hustle culture, and it's one of the most dangerous psychological traps of the modern world. The glorification of busy is the fastest route to burnout. Studies from Stanford University have shown that productivity dramatically drops after 50 hours of work per week. Beyond 55 hours, it plummets so severely that working 70 hours produces almost nothing more than 55. It is not enough to be busy, so are the ants. The question is, what are we busy about? But social media doesn't show you those studies. It shows you CEOs bragging about waking up at 4 in the morning. It shows you motivational speakers screaming that your dreams don't have a snooze button. Grind culture lies. What nobody tells you is that many of these success stories come with teams of assistants, generational wealth, or simply privilege. They sell you a fantasy while profiting from your burnout, and when you inevitably crash, they sell you a recovery program too. But the damage of hustle culture goes far deeper than just overwork. There's something happening inside your brain that you can't even see. Your phone buzzes, you check it. A notification, a like, a new video, a quick scroll that turns into 30 minutes. Your dopamine system is being hijacked, and you don't even notice. Neuroscience has revealed something terrifying about modern life. Your brain's reward system, the same system that motivates you to eat, connect, create, and achieve, is being depleted by constant microstimulation. Every notification, every scroll, every ping releases a tiny hit of dopamine. Your brain cannot distinguish between real achievement and digital stimulation. Dr. Anna Lemke, a Stanford psychiatrist and author of Dopamine Nation, explains that this constant stimulation raises your dopamine baseline. And when your baseline is artificially high, normal activities, reading a book, having a deep conversation, working on a meaningful project feel boring, flat, pointless. We are living in a time of unprecedented access to high-reward, high-dopamine stimuli. So you're not lazy, your reward system has been hacked. The things that should feel motivating simply don't anymore because your brain has been trained to expect instant gratification every few seconds. If this is starting to make sense, if you're recognizing this pattern in yourself, hit like and subscribe to keep exploring the depths of your psyche with me. There's so much more beneath the surface, because the depletion isn't just chemical, it's deeply psychological. Imagine a dog in a cage. It receives random electric shocks. At first, it tries to escape. It jumps, it scratches, it howls. But over time, it just lies down. Even when the cage door finally opens, it doesn't move. Psychologist Martin Seligman discovered this in 1967 and called it learned helplessness. The dog learned that no matter what it did, the pain continued, so it stopped trying altogether. When effort consistently fails to produce results, you stop making effort. Now ask yourself honestly, how many times have you tried to change your life, started a new habit, committed to a routine, and how many times did life, bills, responsibilities, unexpected crises knock you right back down? Learned helpless, trapped. This isn't laziness. This is a conditioned psychological response. Your brain literally learned that effort equals disappointment, so it protects you by shutting down motivation entirely. Man grows used to everything, the scoundrel. The cruelest part, society looks at your stillness and calls it laziness. It calls your survival mechanism a character flaw, but the damage doesn't stop at your motivation. Burnout doesn't just change what you do, it changes who you believe you are. When was the last time someone asked you who are you, and you didn't answer with your job title? We have fused our identity with our productivity so completely that without work, we don't know who we are. Psychologists call this enmeshment, when your sense of self becomes tangled with external roles and performance metrics. You are not what you produce, and your worth is not measured in output. This is why burnout feels like an existential crisis, not just tiredness. When you can't perform, you don't just feel tired, you feel worthless, meaningless, invisible. Identity equals output. Sociologist Hartmut Rosa describes this as the acceleration society, a world where we must constantly grow, produce, and optimize just to maintain our position. Stand still for a single moment, and you feel like you're falling behind everyone else. What a man can be, he must be. This need we call self-actualization. Maslow understood that self-actualization wasn't about productivity. It was about becoming fully human. But the Burnout Society has replaced becoming with producing, and that substitution is hollowing you out from the inside. Because sometimes the destruction is so gradual, so quiet, that you don't even recognize it's happening. Most people imagine burnout as a dramatic collapse, someone sobbing at their desk, a nervous breakdown, an ambulance ride. But the most dangerous burnout is the one you cannot see. Christina Maslach, the psychologist who literally created the burnout inventory, the primary tool used worldwide to measure burnout, identified 3 devastating dimensions. 1. Emotional exhaustion. You feel drained beyond recovery. 2. Depersonalization. You become cynical and detached from everything. 3. Reduced accomplishment. Nothing you do feels meaningful anymore. The scary part, most people experiencing burnout only recognize the first one. They feel tired and try to sleep more. But the cynicism, the creeping sense that nothing matters, that quiet numbness you feel is not inner peace, it is emotional shutdown. That's burnout wearing the mask of apathy. You stop caring about things you once loved. Friends feel like obligations. Hobbies feel like chores. Your inner world becomes gray, not dramatically dark, just empty. The opposite of love is not hate, it is indifference. Silent burnout kills. And because you're still functioning, still going to work, still paying bills, still smiling when expected, nobody notices. Not even you, but there's something that keeps you locked in this pattern. Something that turns burnout into a prison you build around yourself. Here's the cruelest trick the Burnout Society plays on you. When you finally stop, when your body forces you to rest instead of recovery, you feel something far worse. Guilt. You're lying on the couch on a Saturday afternoon and a voice in your head whispers, you should be doing something productive. You take a vacation day and spend it anxious about all the work piling up. Rest has become the last taboo in a world that is addicted to productivity. Psychoanalyst Donald Winnicott talked about the capacity to be alone, the ability to exist without producing, without performing, without justifying your existence through output. Most of us have completely lost this capacity. Almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you. The guilt cycle works like this. You burn out so you rest, but resting triggers guilt, which produces anxiety. Anxiety depletes your energy further, so you push yourself back to work before you've recovered and you burn out again. Faster, harder, deeper. Rest, guilt, repeat. It's a loop, and every iteration leaves you with less capacity than before. Your body starts to crave the very thing that's destroying it. Cortisol, the stress hormone. Your body releases it when you're under pressure, and in small doses, it's useful, it sharpens focus and increases energy. But when cortisol floods your system chronically, your body adapts. The chaos becomes the new normal. You become chemically dependent on your own stress. Dr. Robert Sapolsky, a Stanford neuroendocrinologist, has spent decades studying chronic stress in both primates and humans. His research shows that prolonged cortisol exposure literally shrinks your hippocampus, the brain region responsible for memory and emotional regulation. Stress is not a state of mind. It is measurable and dangerous, and humans cannot seem to find the off switch. But here's the addiction part. When chronically stressed people finally relax, they feel worse. Without the cortisol, they feel foggy, purposeless, uncomfortable in their own skin. You mistake your anxiety for motivation and your stress for purpose. So they go back to the chaos, back to the overwork, back to the burnout, not because they love it, but because their nervous system doesn't know how to function without it. Stress addiction cycle. Your body has forgotten what peace feels like. Busyness becomes identity, chaos becomes comfort, and rest becomes the enemy. So how do you break free from a trap that lives inside your own nervous system? The path out of burnout isn't what you expect. It's not a vacation. It's not a meditation app. It's not another self-help book telling you to just slow down. Boundaries. The first step is what psychologists call strategic disengagement, deliberately choosing when and how you disconnect. Not because you've collapsed, but because you've decided to. Recovery is not a reward for hard work. It is a requirement for survival. Dr. Saundra Dalton-Smith identifies 7 types of rest that every human being needs. Most people only practice one. 1. Physical rest, real sleep and passive recovery. 2. Mental rest, breaks from constant decision-making. 3. Emotional rest, space to express your real feelings. 4. Social rest, time away from draining interactions. 5. Sensory rest, silence from constant digital stimulation. We do not rest because our work is done. We rest because the soul requires it. Most people try to recover with only one type of rest. They sleep 12 hours but never address their emotional exhaustion. They take a day off but spend it scrolling social media, getting zero sensory rest. Strategic rest recovery. Real recovery requires intentionality. It requires treating rest not as laziness, but as the most productive thing you can possibly do. And when you finally learn to truly rest, something extraordinary begins to happen. Underneath the burnout, underneath the guilt, underneath the hustle and the stress addiction, there is a version of you that has been waiting. Not the productive you, not the achieving you, not the version that society approves of, the real you, the one who has passions that aren't monetized, the one who can sit in silence without anxiety crawling up their spine, the one who knows their worth without a performance review confirming it. You existed before your job title, and you will exist long after it. Carl Rogers, the father of humanistic psychology, believed that every person has an organismic self, an authentic core that knows what it needs to grow and thrive. But this self gets buried under what he called conditions of worth, the belief that you're only lovable when you're useful. The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. The Burnout Society didn't just steal your energy, it stole your identity. It convinced you that resting is failing, that slowing down is falling behind, that simply being is less important than endlessly doing. You are enough, but you are not a machine, you never were, and the moment you truly accept that is the moment you begin to heal. So the next time that voice in your head calls you lazy, pause, ask yourself, am I truly unmotivated, or am I exhausted by a system that was never designed for my well-being? Laziness is often the final symptom of a mind and body pushed past their limits. You are not broken, you are not weak. You are a human being living in a world that demands machine-like performance, and your body is doing the only thing it can to protect you. It's shutting down, not out of laziness, but out of survival. To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. Rest, heal, live. If you made it this far, comment Burnout Survivor if you recognized yourself in this video. Your awareness is the first step toward freedom. Welcome to the Psyche Project.